Now let's take a look at how we can use noise to add some skin detail. So first thing I'm going to do is turn on Fast Navigate in the sculpt here. That'll allow us to kind of rotate around a little bit quicker and move in and out a little bit quicker. So I've kind of modified the shape of this since the last lesson. I've gone ahead and I kind of raised his head up a little bit, tweaked the mouth just a little bit, added a little bit more length here, kind of thickened up his arm. So feel free to do whatever you want. As far as making it look like you want it to look, it's more for demonstration purposes. So from this point, let's say that we want to now add some sort of higher res detail for the skin. It's pretty smooth up here. So one of the things that we can do is I'll simply use the sculpt draw, and then we can come down to texture and just very simply hit new, and it'll create automatically some noise that we can use. So if we just use this noise as is, you can see it gives us kind of some bumpiness across the surface, but you can see it kind of repeats there. So we can come down to stroke and change how that's applied. So right now it's got a certain amount of spacing. We could, increase the amount of spacing. It kind of breaks it up a little bit. We could probably also come in and take the strength of it down a little bit because we don't want it to be overpowering. And so we could come in and start to add some bumpiness that way. Okay. We can also change our stroke to anchored, and that will allow us to draw out individual copies of the noise. If we want to be very specific and put it in a very specific spot, we can do it that way. So we can come across like that. We can also, if we get something like dots, we could increase this jitter, and that will allow us to kind of jitter this across the surface. So you can see there, you actually get a preview of it, but I can kind of jitter this and it varies the position of it. Take that down a little bit more, and let's take our strength down a little bit as well. But now we can kind of jitter that, and it's a very quick way to add just some overall kind of roughness to the model here. So just adding that little bit of variation to any of those smooth surfaces really helps make it look, even though this is more cartoony, make it look a little bit more realistic or bring a little bit more life to it. Now to edit your noise that it's using, you can come over to texture. And right now you can see we're using just some clouds. But you can go into the type and you can change the type that you want to use. Use this Voronoi, or you could use any of these types of noise will get you a kind of a different result. So you come down here and you can use distorted noise, and that will give you this kind of real wavy kind of a look, which would be something really different from what you just put on. So you could change your stroke and kind of try it out. And maybe because it has this sort of veiny kind of look, it might be good to put down in some of these areas down here. Just kind of add a little bit of detail there. Keep in mind, remember, you can also push into the surface, so we could hold control down and make that more of like an indentation there. Maybe along the the sides where this comes down under the body, maybe these are some more like really fine sort of wrinkles coming in here. And so we could just, using this anchored, and as I turn the brush, I can sort of rotate that around so we don't get the the exact same copy of it. And so by overlapping these, we can get some really good results. And obviously you're going to want to spend more time on this than our 7 minutes at a time in getting this to look right. And so just save out some iterations, do some experimenting, and try and see what works for you in getting the look that you want to get. So we can start to overlap this. And then you could, if you wanted to do like a more of an overall look, you could change the jitter position for these and use some of those other strokes to drop them across the whole surface. But I kind of like, coming in and adding specific copies in certain areas. So you can get something like that. And just adding that little bit of variation in there, I think will really help. We can come in maybe along just the mouth here, and really concentrate more on the areas that, would be folding and the soft tissue is kind of folding in on itself, where there's a lot of movement. So not beautiful sculpting, but you kind of get the idea where you can kind of drop these textures in. And so you can change those noise patterns right over here. And you can also, once you select one of these, there's also settings down here that you can change as far as the size and all the noise. The noises that you can get are going to have, some slightly different settings that you're able to use. So once you've got something done with your the skin texture, next thing we'll look at is just adding some simple materials.